between diabetes, obesity, and cancer. There is a growing evidence to support a connection between diabetes, obesity, and cancer. Multiple meta analysis of epidemiological data show that people with diabetes are at increased risk of developing cancer of various locations, and there is also an increase in the cancer mortality patients. There have been described many pathophysiological mechanisms between these three things, and including hyperinsulinemia and insulin resistance, hyperglycemia, increased inflammatory processes, and there is also dysregulation of sex hormones. In addition to those potential mechanisms, a number of common risk factors, including obesity, may be behind the association between diabetes and cancer. Indeed, obesity is associated with an increased risk of cancer and diabetes. Abdominal adiposity has been shown to play a major role in creating a pro-inflammatory environment which could result in development of both diabetes and cancer. Here we examine the relationship between the diabetes, obesity, and cancer and investigate the potential mechanism underlying these three things together, and also the treatment recommendations for reducing the overall disease burden and are also exploited in the research area. Interrelationship between pathological mechanism includes multiple modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors in diabetes and obesity, like poor diet and physical inactivity, which leads to diabetes and obesity. So there are underlying biological mechanisms are many, as I've already mentioned, which leads to development of cancer. Here is a beautiful picture depicting the pathophysiology. Type 2 diabetes acts by two main mechanisms. First is dysbiosis in the intestine, which leads to release of many factors from the microbiota, like we see in H. pylori, leading to gastric cancer, leading to tumor cell growth. And the second mechanism is insulin resistance and hyperinsulinemia, which again leads to hyperglycemia, causing mitogenesis and increased tumor growth. Now, obesity, they act through two main mechanisms. One is, as we have discussed earlier, insulin resistance, and second is by increasing the pro-inflammatory cytokines like IL-6, IL-1 beta, and TNF alpha. So all these three things creates a pro-tumorogenic environment around the tumor cells, leading to the cell growth and further cell mutation. The third mechanism by which obesity leads to cancer is by increasing the leptin and causing transduction in the signaling pathways, leading to cell survival and cell growth. So we have two types of insulin receptors, IRA and IRB. Among these two receptors, IRA is more predominant in causing tumor cell growth. Why is it so? It is because of its more mitogenic effects, and then along with insulin-like growth factor 2, it also acts on insulin-like growth factor 1 and insulin, by which it produces a tumorogenic environment and leads to mitogenesis. Here we see the increased visceral adiposity creates a pro-tumorogenic environment. The visceral adiposity affect cancer signaling pathway, as we see on the right side of the picture. We see that there are many bioactive compounds like IGF-1, leptin, TNF alpha, IL-6. They all act on the intracellular signaling pathway, which is present in the tumor cells, leading to cell proliferation and cell survival. There is also, so what happens, this visceral adiposity, they surround the tumor cells and creates a pro-tumorogenic environment, leading to increased inflammation, increased angiogenesis in these tumor cells, and also they further secrete more of the bioactive compounds. So here is a summary of whatever we have seen till now. The pathophysiology mainly involves the high blood sugar, which again acts through inflammation, then promotes cell growth, promotes cell proliferation, and inhibits apoptosis. Then second mechanism is hyperinsulinemia. Again, it increases the level of insulin-like growth factor 1. It promotes cell proliferation, differentiation, then cell survival. Then third mechanism is inflammation, mainly the adipose tissue, which is visceral adiposity, is involved in the release of this bioactive compounds and leads to cell growth, cell metastasis, and cell survival. Now we have finished the pathophysiology part of the interrelationship between diabetes, obesity, and cancer. Now we have come to a part where there are different studies showing various association of diabetes mellitus with various cancers at different locations. So here is one of the study with case controlled and prospective cohort studies. As we can see, it shows a very strong association of diabetes mellitus with bladder, breast carcinoma, colorectal carcinoma, endometrial carcinoma, and hepatocellular carcinoma. Non-Hodgkin lymphoma has also been shown to causation, rather than causation, we can say association between diabetes and non-Hodgkin lymphoma has been seen by two studies in this one. And we see there is a slight possibility of non-Hodgkin lymphoma developing in diabetes mellitus. Maybe it is because of the systemic inflammation which we see in both the diseases together. Here we see prostate cancer has an inverse relationship between the development of diabetes mellitus and the prostatic carcinoma. Again, the other study conducted showing association between diabetes mellitus and the risk of cancer in different anatomical sites. It shows that liver and endometrial cancer has a strong positive association between diabetes mellitus. The liver can be associated because, as we can see, the pathway of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease leading to NASH, leading to NAFLD, leading to hepatocellular carcinoma. Then again, endometrial carcinoma is because of its dysregulation of sex hormones. Then bladder carcinoma and stomach cancer carcinoma has a mild risk of developing in diabetic patients. Otherwise, in rest of the carcinomas and rest of the things, we can see that it is equivocal. Apart from that, we can see that prostate has a definitely inverse association with diabetes mellitus. So it's a gender specification, and here we can see that men has more risk of developing cancer compared to women in case of thyroid carcinoma or colon carcinoma. Otherwise, in rest of the carcinomas, it is almost equivocal, and definitely breast with postmenopausal women are at increased risk of developing cancer in diabetic patients. The suggested causal mechanisms, as we have already discussed, is your reflux esophagitis, then hyperinsulinemia, then fatty liver cirrhosis, and various inflammatory pathways involved in this. Now coming to increase of BMI leading to the number of cases increasing in diabetic patients. So with increase of 5 kg per meter square, we see that there is definitely an increase in the risk of or the number of patients among diabetes having cancer. Especially we see a positive correlation in esophagus, stomach, colorectal cancer, liver carcinoma, and pancreatic carcinoma. In rest of the carcinomas, we can see it is an equivocal response. Here's the summary of cancer mortality associated with increased BMI and in which gender specification is given. So it is seen with a BMI of more than 35 or morbid obesity patients, and we see with the increasing BMI, the cancer risk is more in liver, then it is more in pancreas, stomach, esophagus, and rest of the carcinomas. And it is the causal mechanism again is related to your Heliobacter infection, as we have discussed about dysbiosis of the gut intestine or your insulin growth factor 1 axis. And there is also inflammatory pathway like IL-6 involved in multiple myeloma. Then in women, we see more risk in cases of uterus, then kidney, cervix, breast carcinomas. So all these things are because of dysregulation of sex hormones and again because of your inflammatory pathways. So here we see with what incidence, like if the diabetes is there for a longer duration, do we have a risk of developing cancer more, or is it like if with the increment of 1 year, is there an increased risk of carcinoma in diabetic patients? So here we see a positive relation between the duration of diabetes and specific carcinomas like esophagus, then stomach, then colon, and we have endometrium with increasing risk of duration of diabetes leading to more number of cancer patients. Coming to the overall summary of last 5 years between diabetes and various type of cancers, pancreatic carcinoma definitely has a positive association between diabetes. Then liver carcinoma, because of its NAFLD pathway, has an increased risk of developing liver carcinoma, and also we see that there is an increased mortality in these patients. Colorectal carcinoma also shows a positive correlation with diabetes. Breast carcinoma, pre-existing diabetes increases total mortality among women with breast cancer. Endometrial cancer again increases the risk of endometrial cancer. Then bladder carcinoma also increases the risk with the bladder carcinoma. Prostate cancer has an inverse association as we discussed earlier and seen in multiple studies. Coming to a cancer mortality in women and men with diabetes. So overall the mortality is when compared to women, there is more mortality in men. And if we see individually, then there is a significant more mortality in patients of stomach cancers and in patients of bronchus or lung carcinoma. We have finished the part of pathophysiology and multiple studies showing the various association of diabetes and various cancers. Now coming to the clinical implications of these patients and what potential interventions can be taken with these patients. So person with a high BMI or obesity can, with increased risk of cancer with rising BMI, can be asked to have a weight loss program, bariatric surgery, insulin sensitizing medications like metformin can be asked. Then cancer screening guidelines and surveillance should be carried out from time to time. If the patient is diabetic, type 1 diabetic cancers, in these patients, we need to just screen for the cancer, and rest has not been studied, or there has been very less studies in this stage and can be studied more. In type 2 diabetes mellitus, clinical screening for cancer at diabetes diagnosis, optimize cancer screening adherence, weight loss program, and again, drug effects needed. The study has to be taken care on anti-diabetic medications and the various carcinomas. Now, cancer survivor patient, if the patient is in a pediatric population or adult population, we need to screen patient for diabetes and then we need to start with diabetic prevention program like lifestyle modification and eating habit should be done. And in adult patient, if there is any increased risk of cancer, then we need to screen the patient for cancer from time to time. Then cancer survivors with diabetes, we need better diabetic management resources during cancer treatment. We need to optimize long-term diabetes care, and further research is again needed in this department as well. Now coming to the treatment and how it affects on your diabetes. So there's this look ahead trial. Basically, it was compared with all the overall, like there was a intensive lifestyle modification aimed at weight loss lowered incidence of obesity related cancer by 16% in adults with overweight or obesity and type 2 diabetes mellitus. They have also compared gender, race, age categories, BMI category, and smoking, in which we see there is not much difference apart from the race category, in which there is a lot of difference in these patients. Coming to anti-diabetic medications and cancer, metformin has shown to be a protective role in the development of cancer, and I'll be discussing this in further next slide. Sulfonylureas has equivocal response in the development of cancer. Rosiglitazone has been associated with increased cancer risk, and it should be avoided in patients with any risk factor causing bladder carcinoma. DPP4 inhibitors and GLP-1 receptor agonists, again, they have an increased risk of causing pancreatic cancer, and it should be avoided in patients with any risk of pancreatic carcinomas. Human insulin again has an equivocal response. Insulin analogs like glargine was earlier shown to be having positive or increased risk of developing breast cancer, but recent origin trial showed that there is no such increased risk of breast cancer seen with glargine. Coming to the mechanism of metformin, which by what mechanism does it inhibits cancer cell growth? So it has two mechanisms, indirect and direct. Directly, metformin enters the tumor cell by OCT transporter, there which It acts by AMPK pathway and acts on the tuberous sclerosis gene 2 and inhibits mTOR pathway, which further inhibits protein synthesis, cell growth, and proliferation. Again, the metformin also inhibits glycolysis. The indirect mechanism is by reducing insulin and by reducing sugar or hyperglycemia control. Thiazolidine diones like rosiglitazone and pioglitazone inhibits tumor cell growth by inhibiting the PPAR gamma, which again arrests the cell cycle and induces apoptosis in these cells. So this is the direct pathway of thiazolidine diones. The indirect pathway that it acts through adipose tissue by decreasing insulin and decreasing the insulin resistance. Here is a hypothetical condition of a patient with diabetes, obesity, and breast carcinoma. As we see, first the patient was having obesity and in a pre-diabetic range, which can be controlled by exercise and dietary manifestations. When the patient manifests with a higher glucose level and HbA1c of 6.6, metformin was started initially, which dual anti-diabetic medications were further started due to increasing hyperglycemia. Again, after starting that as well, the glucose levels were further increasing and the patient was started on triple anti-diabetic regimen with DPP-4 inhibitor and was continued with aromatase inhibitors. In a decade or so, the patient developed liver metastasis, followed by which he was also having hyperglycemia, for which long-acting insulin plus DPP-4 inhibitors were started, along with chemoradiotherapy. Apart from that, in further years, patient also developed brain mets, for which the patient was started on steroids. Again, to control hyperglycemia induced by steroid, short-acting insulin was started. Coming to the end of the presentation, does cancer risk increases with the duration of diabetes? The answer is no. Does glucose lowering therapy reduce cancer risk? No. Is poor glucose control associated with an increased cancer? Again, the answer is no. So there are many cancers which are rapidly increasing along with diabetes and obesity. Many surveillance has to be taken place to at least early detection will have a better management in these patients. Obesity is a lone risk factor for some cancers, and the interaction of diabetes or its treatment with cancer risk and outcomes are complex and controversial. Then metformin, as we have seen that through its direct and indirect pathway, it has a protective role in the cancer development, especially in pancreatic carcinoma. And we have to do further additional studies to show its effect on other carcinomas as well. The other anti-diabetic medications are not that useful and needs further studies. Certain drugs used in treatment of cancer lead to metabolic toxicities, which is mainly hyperglycemia. Again, we are having pre-existing diabetes patients with cancer leading to hyperglycemia. Further requires insulin and long-acting insulin in their lifetime. So there are clarification of the mechanism between relationship between obesity and neoplasia might provide clues to how relevant a novel cancer treatment and prevention strategies has to be taken care. So further studies are needed in this respect. Thank you.